Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I am FPL D Unit and today you are here for Game Week 24 Differentials. Now, lots of people are just talking about Liverpool and Everton players this week, and there will be a few that are included in this video, but there are a lot of other players that are potentially we might overlook this week because of the fact that it is a double game week and lots of people are trying to maximize their teams for that. I'm still trying to work out whether I even want an Everton player in my team, so hopefully this video will help me, let alone hopefully help you as well. Now, we're up to 475 subscribers as we are currently talking or as I'm recording this, so if you don't mind, please think about subscribing if you haven't already done so and you've been watching my videos for a while, or if you're just finding it for the first time. And please, before you go anywhere else, please smash a like button on the video as well. And without further ado, let's get into differentials for Game Week 24. So, look, how important are the fixture runs really? Like, honestly, some fixtures, like last week, I think a lot of people would have expected Palace assets in general, other than Munoz, to do better than what they did against Brentford, who don't generally travel well away from home. And Mbuemo obviously popped off, but he's not really a differential. So, like, sometimes the fixture runs can be a little bit misleading. And obviously, Man United, Fulham put up one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. And Tottenham somehow lost to Leicester at home. So, like, sometimes the fixture looks better on paper than it actually is. So, just keep that in mind. Obviously, Bournemouth, Forest, who could have predicted that as well. So, I think the teams that are in a little bit of a good or nicer run of fixtures, particularly for this week and like the next couple of weeks, Palace still in a pretty good run. I know they've got Man United away, probably not overly fabulous in terms of a defensive standpoint, but they still look pretty good there. Villa have a really good, nice 2 weeks. Liverpool obviously have the double and followed by Wolves, so that's a very nice next 2 as well. Chelsea, Ipswich have the Southampton fixture this week. Just an FYI, maybe that's the one to target. Maybe you target Southampton players against Ipswich. Who knows? Man United obviously have a nice little run up until the end of Game Week 29 as well from now. They've only got Arsenal in that time that I would classify as a difficult team. And Brentford are in a pretty good run as well. So Spurs have obviously got the misfiring Spurs. God knows what that score is going to be on the weekend. So who are the best budget options? There is a lot of budget options on this list today. Who's going under the radar that maybe you should be considering in preparation for this week? The January transfer window. Now, it is getting to the exciting time of the window where moves will actually be made. So we've seen Man City have Marmoush come into their team. He's a 7 million rated forward. Looked pretty good on debut without actually returning, which could impact other people's minutes like Semenyo and Doku and other players like this. They also had a defender come in as well. I can't even remember what his name was, but he had a pretty torrid time, so I wouldn't be going anywhere near him. So, like, the January transfer window is interesting in terms of there are players and teams that definitely need to sign players. Like Arsenal clearly need a forward. Man United clearly need a lot of help. Spurs need some help. And the last week for things to happen is this week. And you would think that if certain players leave, so for example, Garnacho leaving, maybe he goes to Chelsea and Nkunku goes back the other way, all of a sudden Nkunku becomes an amazing option because he's going to be starting every game at Man United. So like these are the things you've got to be watching out for. Everton, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin going down, probably need to sign a forward if they're going to stay up. So let's be honest there. That's going to be a watch and wait. If they sign him between now and the Game Week 24 deadline, he could be just a straight up play, bring him straight in for the double game week. So like these are things you have to be watching out for, looking out for. Obviously planning for this week, which is the first double of the season, and blank game week in number 29. That should be at the forefront of your brains and what you're looking to do from there. Lastly, should you be concerned with the new manager bounces? Well, we've just seen that West Ham look like they're going to be a better team under Graham Potter. They've gone to Villa, got a 1-1 draw, credible 1-1 draw. Everton, meanwhile, went to Brighton and won 1-0. So like the defensive solidity is still there. They scored a goal. How many goals are they going to score? Realistically, with the team they've got, I can't see them actually scoring that many. But yeah, look, so these are the players we're talking about this week. The goalkeepers, there are quite a few goalkeepers that I like the look of now that we do need to talk about. So Alisson, Becker, Pope, Onana, Aerola, who has now come back into the West Ham team. He started in the league in front of Fabianski. Maybe that's a sign of it's going to go back the other way. Flekken. The defenders, a lot of these are still the same, but there are a couple of new ones this week. Milenkovic, Williams, Munoz, Guehi, Konate is in this week. Collins is in this week. Timber, Huijsen's in this week. Kerkez, Martinez is in this week, and so is Mykolenko. In the midfielders, it's a bit of the same sort of tried and trusted here, but there are a couple of new faces in here as well. Foden's still in there, still great differential, even though like the fixture run does get harder. I just think he's going to keep returning. Paqueta, Elanga, Kluivert, Murphy, Dango, Szoboszlai, Semenyo, Damsgaard, and Soucek. And then the forward line, Mateta's still in there. Vardy Party needs to be looked at because he's been looking pretty good. Darwin's in there because Gapco's gone way above the 10% threshold, but Darwin could be a sneaky shout. You never know. He could deliver 2 goals in 20 minutes. Delap, obviously the Southampton fixture, has to be talked about. Wissa, he's just over 10, but he's still in the 10% category. And Cunha, who has dropped massively under 10%. We're going to have a look and dive into all of them. So, with that being said, let's jump into the fixture difficulty rating just to check that I'm not talking absolute bollocks to you. So as you can see that Arsenal got the Man City at home fixture this week, which is a difficult fixture for their defence. I wouldn't be recommending going anywhere near them. The only person that actually makes the video again this week is Timber, only because of the fact he's way cheaper than all their other defenders. Otherwise, he would be making it. Aston Villa, as we said there, the Wolves and Ipswich fixtures to come. Ipswich at home in 25 just looks incredible. I'd be holding all my assets. If you're thinking of selling Rodgers or Watkins, I'd be holding them the next 2 weeks, 100%. Bournemouth obviously have the tricky one with Liverpool, but my God, from next week onwards, it's all go on Bournemouth players. I would, if you wanted to jump a week early, you could, but I wouldn't be expecting them to deliver. Brentford, as I talked about, amazing run of fixtures up until pretty much Newcastle away. It's all looking nice and rosy there, really. They've got some easy teams in there. Brighton, a couple of difficult ones in the next couple, but then come back into a nicer kind of run. Chelsea, as we can see there, West Ham at home. I don't think West Ham at home should really be a green. Should be probably more like a grey. But it's still a really nice fixture run for Chelsea. And look, if you've still got Nicholas Jackson, he's almost under 10%. He's almost a real big differential again. Did get an assist on the weekend after I sold him, so maybe it's time to jump back on. Crystal Palace, as you can see there, Man United away, but like the fixture run in general is pretty nice, and they have that Ipswich fixture in 28 that's in the horizon, and they've got Everton at home too. Like there's going to be some goals and points to be had there. Everton obviously have the double, and into I'm going to say a kind of run of fixtures. I wouldn't say they're easy, but potentially that's why Mykolenko is an option. I'm not sure. That's just my personal opinion. He's the only one I'm really kind of interested in at the moment. Fulham obviously coming into a bit of a harder run now, so maybe it might be time to jump off the assets. I do have a couple of home fixtures after this week, but then that's about it. Ipswich, as I said, Southampton a home fixture. All the rest are grey. This is their time to try and get some sort of points towards getting to safety. Realistically, I don't know if they can. Leicester will be seeing the Everton game as a green one. Like, Everton struggle to score goals. If Ruud van Nistelrooy can score a couple there, Vardy Party can get on the board. They're away. A couple of easier fixtures, technically speaking, outside of the Arsenal game in there for them over the coming weeks. Liverpool, again, great fixture run. Get involved. You need to have 3 Liverpool players, I think. Yeah, I just think you need to have 3. Probably not 2 defensive ones. If you can get in a second attacker, that's probably the way to go with Salah. Man United, interesting. They are back on the fixture ticker. They've started to show some signs of boring life under Ruben Amorim. I mean, the Fulham game was god-awful, but they won, so they have to be on there because the fixture run is kind of easy. Now, Southampton probably eyeing up the Ipswich game as much as Ipswich are eyeing up Southampton, but I wouldn't be going there. And Spurs, like the fixture run looks nicer for Spurs, but my God, you can't recommend them. Just an avoid. And Wolves, a little bit further off coming into their thing. So let's have a look at the differentials for this week. So we're going to start with the goalkeepers, and Alisson Becker is definitely number 1. If you're looking for a goalkeeper this week, he is 5.5 billion. He is probably the most expensive on this list, 8.8% ownership. Now, they conceded in the 90th minute against Ipswich off a 0.48 expected goal. It's just frustrating. You would expect Liverpool to keep a clean sheet here. They didn't. I have him. I obviously had the 6 and the 9, but outside of that, Alisson hasn't really done a hell of a lot for me in games where I thought that he would do a lot better. So Ipswich and Leicester, I thought 2 clean sheets there, bankers, concedes a goal in both of them off stupid XG. So it's frustrating, but they do have the double, and the problem is that both games are away. If it wasn't for the fact that both games are away, if those were both at home, I'd think that there's a strong likelihood of at least 1 clean sheet. Realistically, can Everton score a goal against Liverpool? I'm not 100% sure they can, So for me, I'm expecting potentially 6 to 8 points here from Alisson. It's not horrible. It's not brilliant. Wolves at home, obviously, in 25 is brilliant. And then if you hold him long term, up until 29, which potentially is when they'll blank. Like the Southampton fixture in 28 is good, but maybe you can move him. I don't know. I'm not sure. Look, the fact that the 29 is not clear yet is problematic. Now, Pickford is not a differential. Sorry for anyone that is thinking that potentially he should make this. He's way over the threshold. Onana, though, needs to be talked about. Man United finally kept the clean sheet. 0.67 expected goals conceded in this game against Fulham. Now, they haven't kept the clean sheet up until pretty much game week 13. So that was a long time between drinks. Pretty much 10 games. But there have been signs of life, and I know the numbers here don't really add up, but I'm telling you, I've watched Man United games, and if Onana can stop flapping the ball and stop making mistakes, they're going to keep a lot more clean sheets. I would expect them, between now and 29, which is what I'm really looking at, they've got Leicester away, Ipswich at home, Everton away, Spurs away, Crystal Palace at home. Outside of Arsenal in 28, that is the best run of fixtures for a goalkeeper, I think, coming up. Like, at 6.6% ownership, I think Onana's going to keep clean sheets. So that's just my personal opinion on that one. In terms of the other couple that are on here, Flekken needs to be talked about. He makes a lot of save points pretty much every week. If you have a look at the saves, 4, 6, 6, 1, 1, 6, 4, 6. Like, Brentford conceded a lot of shots. And yes, he's pretty good for 3 points a week, to be honest with you, in terms of his points. And like, that's pretty decent for a goalkeeper. And they do have a nice run of fixtures coming up as well, where you would expect potentially Brentford might be able to keep a clean sheet or two. So, like, he is relevant. I think that potentially we should definitely be looking at him. The other two, Nick Pope is actually not on the red or yellow flag list anymore. So I think that spells the end of Dubravka as an option, but it brings back Pope as an option. However, I wouldn't be bringing him in the next 4 weeks, but from 28 onwards, I'll probably, realistically, if you're wildcarding him 30, that is the time to bring him in, because Newcastle have a very nice run for pretty much till the end of the season. So that's where I would potentially be bringing him in. The other one that you do have to be aware of is Aerola. We have to go a fair way down to find him. But 4.2, he started the season at 4.5. He's only 3.7% ownership, but he was back in the starting lineup under Graham Potter, which makes you think that potentially that is the way that he will go. And if that is the case, if you're on wildcard and you want a second goalkeeper, it's Aerola instead of Fabianski. Find that extra 0.2. That way you can have a goalkeeper that potentially will blank, and then you'll have someone else that's playing. I just think it could potentially be worth paying up. All right, so in terms of the defenders this week, now, these are fairly similar to the last couple of weeks, but Kerkez has to be talked about. I've done this man a massive disservice. The last 2 weeks, I've left 13 points on my bench. This dude has been last on my bench the last 2 weeks, consistently getting it done. This week is not a good week. If I was bringing him in this week, I would not be expecting much from the Liverpool game. But look, Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Spurs, Brentford, Ipswich, all to follow. West Ham, Fulham, Palace, Man United. Up until game week 35, it's such a nice run for Bournemouth assets. It's all systems go. He is my pick of their defenders. If you haven't got the money, there are other options, and we'll cover the best other option other than Kerkez in a second. But here's the one. Kerkez is 100% the pick. He's almost out of the differential conversation. He's up to 9.7%, so he's not going to be probably on here next week. Milenkovic is still a pretty good asset. 8.4% ownership, yes. I mean, they conceded 5 goals from 1.69 expected goals. Like, that was... The game was a weird game, but look, that's just the way it is. I'm expecting them to keep back to basics at home this week against Brighton. I dare say we will not be seeing Brighton score 5 goals. They may even keep a clean sheet against Brighton. I'm expecting them to bounce back after a couple of shady weeks in terms of the defence and actually put in a proper defensive shift. So I'm expecting the next 2 weeks to be pretty good for Forest assets. And Milenkovic is still the pick for me. His underlying attacking data is just better than all the other defenders. So for me, he's definitely the one. Going down the list, Murillo is a cheaper option. Guehi's still really good. He got close to almost getting another goal here. I know it doesn't really say 0, but like he was about that far away from making contact with a cross. I just really like the positions he's taken up. And Palace have been looking better defensively. So I think that, I mean, it's 0.2 million less than Munoz. And Munoz is still definitely the best. Got an assist on the weekend, 6.5% ownership. 0.66 expected goal involvement. His assist threat's actually gone up the last few weeks, and it was a great assist for the goal that the Palace did get. So look, could he do something against Man United? 100%. Will he keep a clean sheet? Probably not. But the next 4 weeks after that, Everton, Fulham, Villa, and Ipswich, 3 of them at home, looks amazing. So Palace is still in a really great fixture run, and I think Munoz is probably just shades Guehi just. Timber, obviously, went out of my team, got a clean sheet. Sounds pretty relevant. He actually got the same amount of points as Trent. So I upgraded 1.6 million of my budget in order for the same amount of points. 0.74. Like, Arsenal's defensive numbers are just great. Against Man City, I'm not expecting a clean sheet, so I would not be going there this week, but he's still a great option. Mitchell's still a good option. Collins is a great option. 4.5 mil. Another assist against Palace. So for the season now, he's had 2 goals and 5 assists. He's gone way under the radar. 0.09 expected goals, 0.05 expected assists. Only 3 clean sheets for the season, but he's got 7 attacking returns, which is why his numbers are pretty good. 2% ownership. And as if we have a look at the fixtures coming up, there's chances here for attacking returns, but from now through to the end of game week 29. Such a nice, kind fixture run for Brentford. He's a great option. 2% ownership. I really love him as an option. Martinez, now, don't normally like giving up Man United players because we are god-awful and we have been god-awful, but we do have to talk about Martinez. He obviously missed the Brighton game because he was getting rested. He'd been playing a lot of football, but 2 of his last 3 starts, he scored. He scored a brilliant goal against Liverpool, a very lucky goal against Fulham, and I just think that Man United are starting to show signs of defensive life, and I think Martinez at 4.4 mil is showing signs that he can get forward a bit more. He's got a good shot on him. 3.68% ownership. As I said, the fixture run between now and game week 29 looks amazing. I just think Martinez could be a little bit of a shout, a little bit of a shout. Now, Huijsen's the cheaper Bournemouth defender that you want. 4.4 million, you're going to be saving 0.5 on Kerkez. I just don't like him as much. He's nowhere near as good for underlying bonus, generally speaking. And his goal threat is decent, but it's not. I just think that Kerkez is the better option if you can afford it. But 0.11 expected goals, 0.06 expected assists for a combined total of 0.17 per 90. Pretty damn good for someone that costs 4.4. Like, he is a good option. Don't get me wrong about that. Now, the other one that we want to talk about, Lacroix is still an option if you wanted there, and Wan-Bissaka is starting to become an option potentially over the next couple of weeks. Chalobah was disappointing, FYI. I thought he was going to be much better. He could have got an assist here in this game, but he didn't, and I don't know, the Chelsea defence, man, they just can't defend. Mykolenko, though, is probably the pick. If you're after an Everton player, he's probably the one that I'm looking at, like, realistically. The only thing is, can you tell me which option is, going to pull off? Like, I don't understand. Like, where is he going to go? Where are the clean sheets coming from? Like, are they actually going to be coming from anywhere? Because I'm not sure they are. So for me, it is what it is. I just don't think it's not somewhere I want to go unless I want to free up money to provide other moves. Like, if you look at the fixture run, Leicester at home, potentially clean sheet. Liverpool at home, probably not. Palace away, probably not. Man United at home, who knows? I just don't see that many clean sheets there for Everton. So for me, I don't know. It's a wait and see at this point. I just don't think I can go there, to be honest with you. In terms of the other defenders, there aren't really any others other than Konate. Now, Konate is probably the Liverpool player, 6.1% ownership, 5.2 mil. He has started the last 4 games in the league in a row. He does have some sort of attacking threat behind him as well. For the season, he's 0.07 expected goals, 0.05 expected assists. He's a player you could go to. It's just a matter of whether you want to go the double up Liverpool defence or you want to go the double up Liverpool attack. But he is probably the pick of the players in terms of Liverpool there. No problem at all. Nico Williams, again, still a nice cheap option there for Forest. But again, I think that's all I'm going to cover on the defenders this week. You could go Robinson if you're feeling a really brave man. But is he going to start all the games, or is Tomiskas going to start one of these 2 games? And if Tomiskas starts, he's not an option, and neither is Tomiskas, because I think they'll share it. In terms of the midfielders, now, I've reduced this list significantly this week, but we still have to talk about one, Justin Kluivert. He's still he's actually gone up to 12.7% ownership now, which means that he won't be showing up on this video again. But I just want to give a shout out to him, because last week he did the doubters, including me, wrong. He's now up to 121 points for the season. He's been great, like 12.7% ownership. After this week, he's got an amazing run of fixtures as well. However, again, I wouldn't be jumping on him before that, but he is now up to the 4th rated midfielder in the game, which is just insane. In terms of a Wobie, I wouldn't be going anywhere near there. Lots of people jumping off Ahmad, Bruno Fernandes. I mean, he could be an option. 9.6% ownership. He's not on this list. Man United do have that nice run of fixtures. Bruno's underlying data is great. And lots of people are comparing him to Bryan and Mbuemo. So if we just pull up the stats really quickly, 0.38 expected goals, 0.2 expected assists for 0.58 per 90. If we have a look at Bryan and Mbuemo, who is higher on the list, obviously, he is 0.35, 0.22 for a combined 0.57. So he's actually got less underlying attacking data than Bruno Fernandes. The problem is that Brentford are a much better football team than Man United are at the moment. And we don't know where Bruno's going to play from week to week if he's playing in the more defensive position or on the more attacking position. But he's still a pretty good option, and he's under 10% ownership, which makes him brilliant. Now, Semenyo is getting massively overlooked by Bournemouth. Like, Kluivert obviously has doubled his effective ownership, but Semenyo is 6.6%. This dude just consistently delivers. Like, they're not the same massive hauls as Kluivert, but he's still a really good option here. 0.42, 0.39, 0.05, 0.74. Like, the numbers speak for themselves. He's in a great run of form. He's just as likely to get points as Kluivert. Maybe he doesn't have the same high ceiling as Kluivert, but he's still a really good option. Madueke potentially could be an option, but I'm not going to show him. Mitoma is still pretty good option. 0.14 expected goal involvement this week. Not fabulous with the Everton home fixture, but Everton did play really well. The next few weeks for Brighton are a little bit more difficult, but he does have a nice run with Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham leading up to game week 29, so potentially that's an option. Son was hugely disappointing, FYI. 0.08 expected goal involvement against Leicester. The Spurs are just not they're not options. You can't be going there this season. They're just not worth the hassle at all. I will not be recommending another one of their players on this channel. Damsgaard at 5 mil, 1.3% ownership. Again, he got another assist against Palace. This dude continues to tick over 87 points now for the season. Yes, his numbers in terms of underlying data are not the best. 0.1 expected goals, 0.2 expected assists per 90. But combined, he's just continually ticking over. At 5 mil, great budget enabler. Dango, not many people had heard of this bloke, but since game week 16, where he's come into the lineup, so game week 12, he played that 27 minutes, got a goal and assist. Since then, his numbers for the games have been 0.64, 0.53, 0.26, 0.46, 0.54, 0.51. 0.08, which is a little bit of an anomaly, 0.47 and 0.96. Now, this dude is someone that I think this might have been an impact of the Valenson injury. He's starting to get way more game time, way more chances, and he could be a real option. And look, he's 5 million. He's going to save you 0.7 on Justin Kluivert. Maybe this guy's just as good an option for like pound for pound. That's just something to keep in mind. Like, if you haven't got the budget to get a Kluivert into your team, you want to save some money, Dango actually looks like a really good option. And he's shown that he's got consistency of minutes the last 4 weeks. Ever since the Valenson went down, he's looked like a great option. So, yeah, look, I think that that's somewhere you could go. Jacob Murphy's still a really good option. He actually played 90 minutes against Southampton, got an assist, 5.1 mil. I mean, the run of fixtures does get harder for Newcastle, but if you hold him long term, it's really good again up until like the end of the season. So if you can get through the next 4, you're laughing all the way to the bank. Probably the best budget enabler, and probably a really good alternative to Anthony Gordon, to be honest with you. In terms of Elanga and Gibbs-White, now they have been unlucky the last couple of weeks. I've just had to pull up their things. 0.37 expected goal involvement against Bournemouth and 0.35 against Southampton. Just unlucky. But this is what you're going to get with the budget enablers. They're not always going to pop off every week. You just got to expect that they should be your 5th midfielder, and they're going to play accordingly. Now, Morgan Gibbs-White, obviously 1 assist against Southampton. He's been unlucky the last 2 weeks as well. 0.49 expected goal involvement against Bournemouth. So it is unlucky. But again, as I said, the fixture run for Nottingham Forest does get significantly harder over the next 5 weeks. The 3 of the next 5 are pretty damn difficult, but then it does open up again for him. So it's one of them ones. Do you hold him? Which is probably what I would recommend doing. But yeah, if that's just something you've got to take into mind. Now, I've just missed my favourite bloke here. Hold on, let's go back 1 second. Phil Foden. How good is this man? 8.5% ownership now. He continues to deliver. That's 7, 19, 15, 8, 6, 2, 9 in the last 7 weeks. And it's another 0.48 expected goal involvement. There's nothing to say that he's not going to continue to doing that. So Arsenal away, I'm expecting him to still be involved. And then Newcastle, Liverpool at home, I do think that he's going to return. Even the Spurs away, Nottingham Forest away games, I think I've come to the conclusion that I'm just going to hold Phil Foden, potentially my team. So for me, I just think he's a great differential. Like, so many people are just not going there because of the fixtures. I'm just going to keep taking him on until it either doesn't work out or it works out. Now, in terms of the other midfielders that we do need to talk about, Eze's still really good. He was unlucky here, 0.42 expected goal involvement against Brentford. First time he hasn't returned in the last 5 weeks, but I'm expecting him to do something against Man United. He's up to 9% ownership as well, so that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, just keep that in mind. He does look really good moving forward, and I think that potentially is somewhere where you could potentially go. Now, to find the other couple of people I want to talk about, Szoboszlai is probably a Liverpool player that's been massively overlooked. Now, he's 6.3 mil. He's much easier to get to than Gapco, potentially in your team. 2.1% ownership. I love him. I think he's brilliant. When he plays more than 60 minutes, you can see here the goal involvement, 0.45, 0.47, 0.71. For the season now, he's up to 0.33 expected goals per 90, 0.2 expected assists for 6.3 million, and with a double game week straight off the bat. I actually think that he is probably even on a par with Cody Gapco in terms of pick rate this week. I think he's going to start both. With Curtis Jones definitely out, Jota definitely out, I think Szoboszlai starts both games. So for me, if you want a little bit of a cheeky bet, he's probably the one. Now, Soucek, 4.9 mil. This man has been playing 90 minutes under Graham Potter. Now, as you can see, he's already got 1 goal and 1 assist in these 4 games that he has played under Graham Potter. And I think that with the fixtures coming up, the only one that really concerns me is the Arsenal away one. Like, Chelsea will concede goals, and the kind of player that they concede them to is Soucek. They've got Everton away in 29. It's like a really nice run of fixtures for West Ham from now on. If you want to take a bit of a gamble, Soucek's actually a really good shout. And then the other one is Paqueta. Now, he just continues to deliver good numbers. 0.47, 0.14, 0.59, 0.73, 0.11 since Graham Potter has come in to the team. I just think he's looking good. 1.1% ownership, 5.7 mil. He's the same as Justin Kluivert. He's on penalties as well. So I think that for 100% for real, I think he's actually a really good option. So that's just what I would say on that. In terms of the forwards this week, and we're going to rattle through these pretty quickly. Cunha, probably the number 1 pick. 8.2% ownership now. For the season, he's up to 0.24 expected goals, 0.19 expected assists, which is not the best in terms of the attacking data, but the fixtures are about to take a turn. So they've got Villa at home this week, where you would expect Wolves potentially to get something. After Liverpool and Bournemouth in 25 and 26, it really opens up for Wolves through to the end of the season. Like, Chris Wood, he's got a few weeks left in my team. I'm telling you, he's got 3 weeks left in my team. And then Matheus Cunha is probably 100% coming back into the team for one Mr. Chris Wood. So, look, Nicholas Jackson fast becoming a differential as well, 12.5% ownership. But he had 0.95 expected goal involvement against Man City, only got 1 assist. So again, he's massively underperforming, but he's definitely somewhere you could go to. Wissa, who's in my team, 10.5% ownership, still a really good differential with that level of ownership. 0.52 expected goal involvement against Crystal Palace. It was unlucky that he did not get me something immediately in my team, but I'm expecting against Spurs and West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Villa and Bournemouth the next 6 weeks, he's going to be getting me some handsome returns. So I'm really excited to have him in the team. Mateta, obviously 6.1% ownership, was disappointing against Brentford. I actually watched him, and as I said, I just don't like the way that he moves. I just think he's easy to defend. It'll be interesting to see how he goes against Man United, but 0.03 expecting goal volume was a lot more what I expected. And as I said, he played West Ham and Leicester and Southampton 3 of the last 4. They are like the easiest fixtures in the game. So I'm not surprised that he went back to Struggle Town. Jamie Vardy, though, has to be talked about. 5.4 mil, probably a better pick than Ndiaye. And we'll have a look at Ndiaye in a second, but 5.6% ownership. This dude has way better expected goal involvement. Like, over the course of 90 minutes. So if we have a look for the season, 0.44, 0.11 for a combined 0.55 per 90. Had really good numbers against Tottenham. Probably should have returned more than the 9 points, but 9 points is really good. We'll have a look at Ndiaye in a second, but I tell you what, he's like Gapco's probably the pick, 17.3. He was under 10% last week. He's massively shot up. He's going to probably continue shooting up, but that's why he doesn't make the video anymore. So Delap, 3.2% ownership. He has the Southampton at home fixture this week. That is the fixture you want. Like, that's just the fixture you want. If there was a man that I would expected to score the most out of all the players I'm expecting this week, it is Liam Delap. I think they'll score multiple goals against Southampton. He'll probably have a double-figure haul straight off the bat. In terms of the other ones, Ndiaye, lots of people sitting there going, I'm going to take a risk on him because Dominic Calvert-Lewin's gone down. All you have to do here is look at his expected... Like, he's scored the last 2 weeks, yes, against Tottenham and Brighton. I'll grant him that. But if we have a look at his expecting data for the season, 0.16 expected goals per 90 and 0.05 expected assists. You tell me that's a good punt. It's not. He might be on penalties now, but who the hell's going to win a penalty in that Everton team? Like, they just don't attack. None of them look like they attack very well. So for me, I'm not convinced on any of them that they're worth the asking price. Now, the other one that does make this list this week, only because of the fact that they do have a double game week, is Darwin Núñez. Now, there's no real data to back up that he's even a valid option. All you have to do is look at his starts and his minutes played here, and it doesn't look fabulous. But if you really wanted to take a gamble, I suppose he could deliver you some points. I mean, he scored 4 goals and 2 assists this season, and 2 of them were against Brentford and 22 from 25 minutes. It's not somewhere I would go, but if you were desperate and you were really chasing rank and you thought that he was going to start 1 or 2 of them, then you go there. But for me, he's not a go. But at 7 mil, 2.2% ownership, yeah, I think there's better options, is the honest answer. I mean, Duran probably is a bit stiff here, but he's just not starting. He's back on the bench again for Watkins, 2.6% ownership, 5.8. He'd be a really good option if he was starting, but alas, he's not. And yeah, that brings us to the end. So if you've liked that and you've made it all the way through the end, please smash a like button. And if you are new, please subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's not going to be the wildcard draft like usual. It is going to be a chip video based on, do you play your assistant manager chip, or do you play your triple captain chip if you've got it available, or do you just sit there and go stuff it and I'll play the wild card anyway? That'll be tomorrow's video. Make sure you join me for that. That's been the D Unit.